in grace, how sweet the sound that saved a wretch like me. I once was lost, but now I'm found. I was blind, but now I see. Through many dangers, toiled the test, I have already come. Grace that brought me safe thus far, and grace will lead me on. Hallelujah, 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 hallelujah.
We gather together in spirit and heart and light. In our own physical spaces, we recognize our individual altars are all on ancestral lands of people who were forced to leave their way of being in the world. And so we set aside our distractions to be fully present and to create sacred time no matter where we are. We come as equals, attentive, generous, and open to the holy. We will suspend judgment and the instinct to fix. We will turn to wonder, welcome discomfort and dislocation, and lean into our questions. And we will emerge from this time together refreshed, surprised, and less burdened than when we came. May it be so. Amen. And Unitarian Universalists, when they gather, light a chalice as a symbol of their faith. I have a chalice lit already here, and I invite you to kindle a flame wherever you are. And today, let's name it for what it is in the here and now. We're not kindling a flame, we're lighting the wicks of single candles. We light the wicks of single candles and bring them to our faith. And then, behold, the chalice of community ignites them with one spirit. And now, all kindred souls burn steadfast, warm, and holy, where all are welcome, many now are one. And now, the Red River Unitarian Universalists are gathered. And so I invite you all to say, from where you are, your affirmation. Love is the spirit of this church, and service is its prayer. This is our great covenant to dwell together in peace, to seek the truth in freedom, and to help one another. And so the church is gathered, and now here is our opening thought. It comes from Dr. Theodore Geisel, otherwise known as Dr. Seuss, from the Lorax. Unless someone like you cares a whole awful lot, nothing is going to get better. It's not. The first reading today is from Walt Whitman, who may surprise us with these words from the preface of Leaves of Grass, when he's actually pretty prescriptive. he tells us what we should do. The title of the program this morning is One Thing at Once. And if you're wondering what to do, here's what Walt Whitman says you should do. This is what you shall do. Love the earth and sun and the animals. Despise riches. Give alms to everyone who asks. Stand up for the stupid and crazy. Devote your income and labor to others. Hate tyrants. Argue not concerning God. Have patience and indulgence toward the people. Take off your hat to nothing known or unknown or to any man or number of men. Go freely with powerful, uneducated persons and with the young and with the mothers of families. Read these leaves in the open air every season of every year of your life. Re-examine all you have been told at school or church or in any book. Dismiss whatever insults your own soul. And your very flesh shall be a great poem and have the richest fluency, not only in its words, but in the silent lines of its lips and face and between the lashes of your eyes and in every motion and joint of your body. Here ends the reading.
Wake now my senses and hear the earth call. Feel the deep power of being in all. Keep with the web of creation your vow. Giving, receiving as love shows us how. Wake now my reason, reach out to the new. Join with each pilgrim who quests for the true. Honor the beauty and wisdom of time. Suffer thy limit and praise the sublime. Wake now, compassion, give heed to the cry. Voices of suffering fill the wide sky. Take as your neighbor both stranger and friend, praying and striving their hardship to end. Make now my conscience with justice thy guide. Join with all people whose rights are denied. Take not for granted a privileged place. God's love embraces the whole human race. Wake now my vision of ministry clear. Brighten my pathway with radiance here. Mingle my calling with all those who share. Work toward a planet transformed by our care.
And now, as is the custom in these morning programs, we like to take time for practices of the Spirit, practices that maybe just you will call meditation or prayer or reflection. Today I'm offering some words, just a few words really, that were supposedly found in a cellar on the wall, in the cellar of a concentration camp. and they were found at the end of World War II when the camp was liberated. And I offer the words for you to reflect upon for a short time. We'll do it all together in real time, and then later when people encounter this, they'll do it in their time, and then with the music following. But they're simple words, and I invite you to use them. If you're a humanist, don't be afraid by the word God. That can be your higher power. It can be the force of humanity. It can be whatever you want. But hear these words and let them move you today. I believe in the sun even when it's not shining, someone wrote in the cellar of a concentration camp. I believe in love even when I don't feel it, someone wrote in the midst of hatred. I believe in God even when God is silent, someone said, even in the midst of great evil. And so I invite you to take some time in your own time to believe in the sun, even if it is not shining for you at this moment. To believe in love, even if you're not feeling it at this moment. And to believe in God, however God means God for you, even if that higher power is silent for you in this moment. And then, in due time, there will be music bringing those words directly into your heart. The second reading for today is a real Bible reading for what is known in the Christian calendar today as Christ the King Sunday. This is the Sunday just before the first Sunday of Advent, and it's the day when the theologians, after Jesus had died, began to really, really work on the people and raise the theology of the prophet of Jesus of Nazareth. And so it's an interesting reading. You'll see what it is. It combines the homely, wonderful prophet, healer, prophet, kind man with the Christological function that they had to just have. See what you think about this. When he finally arrives, the teaching goes, he meaning Christ the King. When he finally arrives, blazing in beauty and all his angels with him, the Son of Man will take his place on his glorious throne. Then all the nations will be arranged before him, and he will sort the people out, much as the shepherd sorts out the sheep and the goats, putting sheep to his right and goats to his left. Then the king will say to those on his right, enter, you who are blessed by my Father. Take what is coming to you in this kingdom. It's been ready for you since the world's foundation. And here's why. I was hungry, and you fed me. I was thirsty, and you gave me a drink. I was homeless, and you gave me a room. I was shivering, and you gave me clothes. I was sick, and you stopped to visit. I was in prison, and you came to me. And then those sheep are going to say, Master, what are you talking about? When did we ever see you hungry and feed you? When did we give you drink? When did we ever see you sick or in prison and come to you? And then the king will say, I'm telling you the solemn truth. Whenever you did one of these things to someone overlooked or ignored, that was me. You did it to me. And then he will turn to the goats, the ones on his left, and say, get out, worthless goats. You're good for nothing but the fires of hell. And why? Because I was hungry and you gave me no meal. I was thirsty and you gave me no drink. I was homeless and you gave me no bed. I was shivering and you gave me no clothes. Sick and in prison and you never visited. Then those goats are going to say, Master, what are you talking about? When did we ever see you hungry or thirsty or homeless or shivering or sick and in prison and didn't help? He will answer them, I'm telling the solemn truth. Whenever you failed to do one of these things to someone who was being overlooked or ignored, that was me. You failed to do it to me. Then those goats will be herded to their eternal doom, but the sheep to their eternal reward. Here ends the reading. And here with the discourse. Well, now you know what my actual agenda is. I do not want to end up a goat. And you know what we're talking about? We're talking about how to appreciate what we have, yes, but we're also talking about how to justify or to understand why it is that we really are supposed to help one another. Many of us are talking about how we've maybe left behind the old time religion that said you've got to help people or else go to hell. All right, all of these things are with us in our postmodern, post-Christendom world. We know we don't just want to be helpers because otherwise we'll be a goat. That seems transactional to us, right? It does. And yet, that wasn't a bad thing altogether, was it? Because people did feel that they had their duty. I know, Mark has preached on what is our duty. We have that, don't we? I mean, we can't just let it all go. Anyway, we've got to find a way to manage our lives in such a way that we have some sort of obligation to the world. And yet the world is large and we are just tiny, tiny sparks, one person out of all of it. All right, how do we find our way? Well, like Jesus, I like to tell stories. That's about where the resemblance ends, but let me tell you a story. You probably all heard it. And in fact, if you were at the North Texas Association awards luncheon several years ago where I spoke, you have heard it. But don't be dismayed. There's more to it than there was then, and I may surprise you. Anyway, let me tell you this story, and we'll reflect on it, and we'll see if we can figure out what we are supposed to do. Here we go. A boy stood on the beach where hundreds of starfish had been swept up by the waves up on the beach and stranded there to die. But the boy is throwing the starfish one by one back into the water to save them so they can survive. Now, the cynical grown-up is up there a ways away on the beach, and he's watching them on the boardwalk, and he calls down to the boy, "You're wasting your time, you know. You can't possibly throw all those starfish back in the water. What you're doing really doesn't matter." And the boy throws a starfish into the water and looks up and says, "Well, it matters to this one." Right? Familiar story. I know you've heard it. It's a chestnut. And you're probably thinking, "Oh, for the love of all that is holy, not that starfish story again." Yeah. Well, there's a reason it's told so often. It's because it illustrates the truth. And if you stick with me, we're going to find even more in there than you think. Promise. The boy says what we all want to believe, okay, about helping, that every act of goodness matters, no matter how small. You know you want to believe it. I do. We all want to believe it. Because maybe you're like a lot of us. We're givers. There's givers in the world, there's takers, and then there's matchers. You recognize the takers pretty easily, right? They're competitive, they're self-promoting, they'll help others strategically if they have to when the benefits seem to outweigh the personal cost. Takers will usually reveal themselves pretty soon, though. If you lend somebody $20 and you never see that person again, it was probably worth it. Anyway, matchers, there's a lot of matchers out there. There's nothing wrong with that. They'll keep it even if they will. They'll come to the potluck and they'll leave with just as much food as they brought. But the starfish story is about a boy who is a giver. So we're going to talk about that and identify those people. But hold on, we'll get to that because I want to tell you the next part of the story. And unless you were at that luncheon years ago, you may not know it. So the boy keeps throwing the starfish. The man is up there and he starts arguing with the boy. He says, you say it matters to this one, but you don't really know that. You don't know if that starfish will ever even realize what you've done for him. That starfish probably won't say thank you, probably won't be grateful. You don't even know if he's going to survive and he gets back in the water. He's probably too damaged. Probably just going to get swept up on the shore again. Probably really hopeless. How can you say that it matters? The boy thinks for another minute and then he looks back up and he says, "Well, it matters to me. Doing what we can in the world matters to us as individuals. In plain language, it gives us purpose. It gives us a reason to get up in the morning. It makes us happy. That's been proven with science. The happiest people are the ones who help others out once in a while. The boy knows that. Saving the starfish one by one, it matters to him. It feeds him as a human being. It gives shape and meaning to his life. It heals his heart. So yes, it brings us full circle back to selfishness. We help others to feel good about ourselves. And sure enough, the cynic up on the boardwalk, he picks right up on that, doesn't he? So it's all about you and your good feelings, huh? Yeah, you don't really care about the net result. You just do it because it makes you feel good. Yeah. And the boy thinks about it some more. And because he's an extraordinary boy in a made up story, he looks back up at the cynic and he says, yeah, maybe so. But look, mister, it seems like all this matters to you, too. And the cynic stops short for a minute. And the boy continues, say, mister, what are you doing right now? And the man walks down the steps to the beach. And I know you think I made that part up. And I know you're thinking, wouldn't it be nice if it worked that way? But you know what? It does work that way. They've proved that with science too. Helpers create other helpers. Activists create other activists. Givers create other givers. Many experiments have tested this, that people in groups overwhelmingly, if there's just one giver in a group, it can make the others give more. It establishes a new norm. It just takes one person to have a group start giving. So this nuanced world is way more than just black, white, and gray. Being a giver pays off in the long run a lot more than just the one or two starfish that you can throw. Because now we're talking about giving in the aggregate. Now there are two people on the beach throwing starfish into the sea. And it's entirely possible that the second one is on his cell phone calling a friend. So why am I telling you this story? I said I was going to talk about, doing one thing at once. Remember, I told you my mother said that, you can't do everything at once, but you can do one thing at once. It was one of the things she told me that was true. She told me also that eating bread crusts gave you curly hair. That wasn't true, but it was true that you can do one thing at once. Well, here's the thing. I used to think that I was going to be the boy, saving starfish. When I was a minister, I thought that was a sort of a saving starfish role. You had love, you had energy, you saved people one by one, you threw them in the sea so they could swim away. With my faith in God, that's what I was going to do. And I wasn't able to continue doing that for too awfully long, no more than about 5 years. So I wound up in a different role, which was a lot more like the cynic. I was doing policies and finding loopholes and setting rules and boundaries and saying why you couldn't do things. So I was more like the cynic. I was sure that things maybe didn't matter or really had to be done a different way. But I was lurking nearby the whole time, caring about the impossible work, the improbable love, the inexpressible compassion that causes people to keep trying to save the world even when clearly they cannot. But now I realize I'm neither of those people in the allegory, because I believe that story is an allegory, perhaps. I'm no longer the young star thrower, barefoot on the beach with no guidance or sense of perspective, just some kind of foolish belief in the holy and perhaps saltwater bathing. And I'm not the cynic in the story either, because I do have hope, and I no longer wish to play the necessary role of devil's advocate for the idealist. It's no fun always to be the cruel voice of the real world that challenges and tests their commitment and their resolve. Let some other mean lady do that. Now I know who I am, finally, in this allegory. I know what one thing I can do at once. Now I'm the one who tells you the part of the story you might not otherwise hear, so that you can go tell this story to others and make more givers and make sure that they do one thing at once. That's my one thing. It really is true that we all get to do one thing at once. It is true that we cannot do everything. It may be that all of our everythings that we do is not going to be enough. That may be, but that is not for us to decide. All I know is this. I really believe there's only one cardinal sin, and that is to despair. I don't want to be a goat. I don't want to be the one who did not give drink or shelter or food because I had given up. So I've chosen this one thing. I'm going to tell that story, and I'm going to tell you all. I'm going to tell everybody that I can think of. You can't do everything at once, but you can do one thing at once. So go now and do one thing at once. Amen. And amen. If you have seen this program at the premiere, you are invited to join Red River Unitarian Universalists at the Zoom fellowship time right after the premiere. There should be a link in the program description that is posted on YouTube and on Facebook. So I hope we see you there. If you have seen the program elsewhere, then please follow, like, subscribe, share. Follow Red River Unitarian Universalists. They are a sanctuary for religious liberals, and they are looking to be the church in the world because this is the church in the world. And we hope that you will sign up and come again sometime. And so now I leave you with a parting thought. And it's this: we, the willing, led by the unknowing, are doing the impossible for the ungrateful. We have done so much with so little for so long. We are now qualified to do anything with nothing. And so please receive this benediction from The Most Amazing Day by E.E. Cummings, that if you do one thing, you will then be able to say, I who have died am alive again today. And now the ears of my ears awake. Now the eyes of my eyes are opened. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again.
Guide my feet while I run this race. Guide my feet while I run this race. Guide my feet while I run this race.
friends. It's Mark Davies, and I'm looking forward to being with you next week when I will be speaking on the topic, What is my duty? Periodically, I like to look at different approaches to ethics. So this coming week, we'll be looking at the deontological approach to ethics and see what we might learn from it for building a more flourishing human and ecological community.